Ask anyone about the AI market. You'll hear one word over and over again: bubble. The narrative is set. It's a massive, obvious bubble, and it's about to pop. But today, we're going to put that dominant narrative under the microscope. We're going to make a contrarian case.
Yeah, this is the consensus view. You hear it on the news, you see it online, it's everywhere. But we're playing devil's advocate here. We're going to challenge this idea by looking at what makes this moment fundamentally different from the bubbles of the past.
Now, to be fair, the case for a bubble, it seems incredibly strong. The evidence looks overwhelming, so it's really easy to see why so many people have landed on the same conclusion.
I mean, all the classic signs are there, right? The entire market is being carried by just a handful of big names. Their products are nowhere close to actually covering their astronomical costs. And, well, it often looks like a shell game, with tech CEOs just passing the same pile of cash between themselves to make their quarterly numbers look good. It looks cooked. But here's where we pivot. If it's all so obvious, if everyone agrees this is a textbook bubble, then why are some of the most informed investors on the entire planet still pouring billions of dollars into it month after month? Do they see something that the rest of us don't?
So this is where our investigation really begins. We need to frame this as a mystery because that's what it is. If this is such a fragile bubble, why has it proven to be so incredibly resilient?
You know, history shows us that bubbles are fragile things. The dot-com collapse was kicked off by just a few key events, one of which was a single, absolutely critical article exposing how unviable the business models were. A few years later, the housing bubble was popped by the subprime mortgage crisis. They are vulnerable. They break under pressure.
But what's really fascinating here is the sheer number of events that should have popped this thing. We've had legislative controls on chips, rising interest rates, massive legal challenges, not to mention constant negative articles and studies, and yet the market has just shrugged it all off. And that brings us to the central question. What makes this different? Well, the answer seems to lie in three critical factors that separate this AI boom from the speculative manias we've seen in the past.
Okay, our first major clue is about the money. Where is it all coming from? Because it's not coming from where you might think. This whole thing is built on a fundamentally different and frankly much stronger foundation. For the better part of 2 decades, major US tech companies, think Microsoft, Meta, Apple, Alphabet, they've been quietly building a colossal pile of cash. We're talking trillions of dollars just sitting on the sidelines. And it happened in 2 steps. First, before 2017, the tax laws actually made it really attractive to park cash offshore. But then, a one-time deal allowed them to bring all that money back home, and that created a massive war chest, dry powder, ready for a big domestic investment. And here is the critical difference. Unlike the housing bubble, which was propped up by debt, or the dot-com bubble, which was funded by a frenzy of public investment, the AI boom is being paid for with cash on hand. It is not borrowed money. All right, our second clue is a strategy that, on the surface, looks incredibly suspicious. It might even have a hidden, calculated logic. You've probably heard about it in the news. The term is circular dealing, and basically, it's a situation where companies look like they're pulling themselves up by their own bootstraps. They're investing in their own customers, which then makes revenue numbers look a lot better than they might actually be. So here's a simplified but very real example of how this financial web actually works. NVIDIA invests in a company like OpenAI. OpenAI then turns around and uses that money to rent data centers from Oracle. And Oracle, in turn, uses that new revenue to buy more chips from, you guessed it, NVIDIA. The money makes a complete, perfect circle. But what if this is more than just a way to juice the numbers? The contrarian view is that this is actually a sophisticated risk mitigation strategy. By investing up and down the supply chain, these companies maximize their chances of capturing value, no matter which specific company or which piece of tech ultimately wins out in the end. Okay, let's bring these clues together. If this isn't a classic bubble, then what is it? The answer, it seems, lies in who is making the bet and whose money they're using to make it. And here is the pivotal difference. The dot-com bubble absolutely depended on a constant stream of new money from everyday public investors just to keep unprofitable companies afloat. The AI bet, on the other hand, is being funded internally by the massive cash reserves of a handful of corporations. So you see, this isn't a public frenzy. It's not a speculative mania. It's a private, high-stakes poker game. It's a strategic corporate war being fought between the world's richest companies, and they are using their own cash. And the scale of this initial bet is just staggering. We are talking about hundreds of billions of dollars being wagered on the future of this tech. The CEOs themselves have admitted it's a massive roll of the dice. And really, it all comes down to this. These companies are betting $500 billion for a shot at a $10 trillion prize. It is, without a doubt, a risky bet. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad one. And that, right there, is the question we'll leave you with.